Hollywood was a small country village 50 years ago, and you know what it is today.
Wonderful people, wonderful scenes.
Can eat you up and spit you out. It's really scary.
I love the movies.
Hollywood is the place where everybody can come to, or where everybody comes to and hopes to find things that they can find no place else in the world.
I started in motion pictures and penny arcade in 1903. That fascinated me most about the motion pictures, that there is anything that you do or can do that the camera cannot take. And the camera can convey that same feeling, the same that you try to do in life, you'll do it on the screen.
Our driver's name is Doug, and we'd like to welcome you here to Universal Studio Tours this morning. Now, this portion of the tour will last about 2 hours. Now, this area can be any large city in either the United States or in Europe. The buildings to the very far left side of the tram became East Berlin for the motion picture called Torn Curtain. Now, remember, these buildings are just shells or facades. They have no interiors to them. Once an actor walks through the door of one of these buildings, we cut the film, they move inside of a soundstage where the interior of that particular building is constructed. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is Mr. Paul Newman. And of course, we have his leading lady, who never leaves his side, Miss Joanne Woodward.
Hello.
Okay. Now, we're going to have you do a scene right over here in this living room, okay? Joanne, I want you to sit right here in the chair. Now, what you're going to do, Paul, you're not married to Joanne yet, and you've just been dating each other, and you finally decided that you want to get married, right? So you're going to come rushing in that door over there when I say action, and you're going to walk over and you're going to ask Joanne to marry you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be scene 82, action.
Joanne, marry me.
No. Now, if you look at the doors and the windows of each building, you'll notice that they're kind of small. They've been scaled down to 7/8 of their normal size for a particular reason. Because when we film a cowboy walking through one of those doors, because that door is a foot shorter, that cowboy will appear to be a foot taller than he normally is. That's why your cowboys always look rougher and tougher on television.
Now what you have is a Hollywood in transition, a Hollywood which is having to reevaluate all of its standards, a Hollywood which existed as Hollywood, which is that big sign which is up on the hills and everything like that, which was, oh wow, Hollywood, film capital of the world and everything like that. And suddenly, as your big studios are breaking down, as you have an MGM sale, as you have a 20th Century Fox sale, as you have television becoming more and more important, as you have low-budget films increasing more and more, suddenly Hollywood is having to reevaluate its image, and its image is changing. And since it's in the midst of all of this change, you can't blame it for looking back, for remembering things as they were, for people remembering, you know, all the glories and wonders of the great film days.
Lollipop, it's a nice trip to the candy shop where the bonbons play on the sunny beach of Peppermint Bay. Whew, Shirley Temple. Wow. She was probably my childhood idol along with Fred Astaire. I would rush home from school every afternoon for the 3 o'clock matinee to watch Shirley Temple dance down Lighthouse Stairs in Captain January, which is what these are all from. And it's really a dear part to me in my heart with, you know, with Shirley Temple. I looked like her when I was a kid. I had long, you know, curly hair and everything. And I used to, you know, I lived in a fantasy world about it. I wish I'd lived then. I really do. I wish I had been born 30 years before I was. And I'm sorry it's gone. I don't think it's lost forever. I mean, obviously, these things still exist, and people will keep them, I hope, in good homage.
This is a picture from our wife, Laurel and Hardy, which I made when I was about 23 or 24. And they were my all-time buddies, and of all my pictures, I think they're the very greatest in my book. I came to Hollywood when I was about 18, and I hadn't been in pictures before, with the exception of a little one-horse movie I made at the old S&A studio at Niles. 2 weeks after I got there, I got this call from Universal Studios for Eddie Lyons and Lee Moran, and they asked me to come out for an interview, which I did. No, they said to come out to go to work. I was really going to go to work, so I went out, and the director asked me if I had my makeup, and I said no, and they looked kind of funny, and they looked at each other, and so he turned to Mildred Moore, who was an ex-Follies girl, and said, "Mildred, will you take Miss London to your dressing room and give her some makeup?" So I went to her dressing room, and I was putting my makeup on there. I thank God I had this course in makeup. So I was putting it on, and I thought I smelled smoke, and I looked out of the corner of my eye, and Mildred Moore was smoking. Well, I thought, oh my God, I'm living it up. Here I am in the movies, and a woman smoking. I'd never seen anyone smoke before. And so I had absolutely nothing to recommend me, except that I weighed 255 pounds. I was a perfect 63, 33, 63. Anyhow, that's what I went into movies for, to sell my lard and my smile and what have you. That's all I had to recommend me. And we had an awful lot of fun, and we liked each other, and it was warm and informal. It wasn't like it is today. The last times I have worked in pictures, it was more like a factory. Such strict business and pressure, and we comedians, the old silent comedians, are really a vanishing era. about the only time we get together is at funerals. I went to Stan Laurel's, I went to Babe Hardy's, I went to Chester's, I went to Buster's, and that's the only time we get to see each other. It's really funny. And each one you go to, there are fewer of us left, and we really are a vanishing era. I don't think there are going to be many of us a great deal longer. I'm one of the youngest of the group. It'd be funny if I'd be the last of the vanishing era, wouldn't it?
I at times look at the stills, but not very often. It's gone. That's your youth when you're vibrant and young and ambitious. Nothing else mattered. But nothing. You've got to go out and sort of conquer yourself as you go. And maybe the world, if the world has anything to say about it. I started at the Vitagraph studio in Brooklyn, New York. And I seemed to get on there very well. And a couple of years, then I came to California. And I went over to the Fox studio on Western Avenue. And I thought, well, this is the greatest studio out here. And I'm a pretty bum actress, but I'm going to try it. So I was shown into the presence of the great J. Gordon Edwards, greatest director in the business. And he had directed all the Theta Vera things for a number of years. Scholarly man. And I said, how do you do, sir? I was going to apply for something in this great Queen of Sheba picture you're making. And he seemed to grow. He just stood stretched, and I kept going, looking at him. And he said, just what can you do? I said, Mr. Edwards, I can do anything in this world that I have to do. And finally I said, I'm going to play something from Sheba. I'm going to play the love scene as I see it with Fritz Leiber, who is to play Solomon. And I went a few steps and I knelt, what would have been before his throne. And I knelt. Then I got my petticoats up somehow, got up, and sat beside him on his throne, 2 gold seats, handles. And I said, you know, Solomon, I've loved you so many generations that being beside you is just a dream reiterated. And we'll have a child. I hope it will be a boy and make another king such as yourself. And then we were into the picture. And we just filmed right along. And I went to New York. And I came out on the stage. I was presented. I couldn't say a word. I just stood there, looked and looked and looked. And I thought, well, this is the mountaintop. This is the test. So what do you think I said? I said the Lord's Prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you, myself.
As I look at you, a thought goes through my mind. What a marvelous find you'd make upon the screen. I am proud that I have you right by my side, but I'd be satisfied to lend you to the people to be seen.
Now, this is a makeup we usually had about the year of early 20s, I would say, the flapper type. The old panchromatic makeup was used at that time. It was done very, very heavy. In fact, how it was put on in the old days, the star would actually we didn't have makeup in then, and they used to take the makeup in their hands this way and then rub it on their faces, and rub it just pile it on very thick. And after they piled it on, they would go into the bathroom and just throw water on it to set it. And after that, they put the powder on. Making up the eyes was very important to them also, and they didn't have what we call the eyelashes today, so they took an old beaded pot of mascara, and they would stick an eyebrow brush in, something like this, and they would dip this in, and they'd heat this pot, and it'd be in a liquid, and they'd bead the eyelashes, just kept working on it until they got a lot of beads in it. This would almost take the place of today's eyelashes. This is the era of Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, and Ginger Rogers. The mouth was more emphasized, and I'm going to show you the way they really worked their mouths out. They tried to just go, and the lipstick was much higher and more heavily made up in such a fashion to really emphasize the mouth and the lip. Not like today's period where everything is more of a natural look. And now if you look at the difference of the idea of the mouth and the way it is, that also they had the eyebrows were also made quite different. They liked the great arch of the eyebrow. That was the style. For instance, if I can show you here, they went into the big, large eyebrow arch, which I'm showing you here. In fact, many stars even drew the line way beyond the end of the eye, which I'm showing you as such.
It's lovely.
Today, everybody wants to look like themselves, and they make themselves their own distinctive way of makeup, and their hair is the same way. In other words, it's just like made out of the street. And you know, I just want to say one thing to you. It's a very funny story. I'd like to tell you a story. Years ago, when I worked with big actresses like Rita Hayworth and Kim Novak and Katherine Grayson, there was always a big problem because they all of a sudden became like cosmetic alcoholics. Everything they saw on this table here, they started to grab. And they said, well, I like this kind of eye. I said, oh, I'll try it, or use this kind of mascara. They would try about everything here. So I finally got a little tired because it wasn't the idea of them putting everything on, but they wanted, the more they put on, the more they liked it. So I had this little sign made. This is towards the end, and this is how I kept all the stars from not putting too much makeup on themselves. So they can't see any more through the mirror, and that's what we did.
Everything I have is yours. You're a part of me.
This house is over 50 years old. Buster Keaton built it for Natalie Talmadge, but after the Keatons split up, they rented it either to Cary Grant and Barbara Hutton when they were married, or they bought it from them temporarily, I don't know. They lasted, what, about 2 years. Then I believe Marlene Dietrich and Jean Gabin shared it for a while. And then after that, I believe it was sold to the Libby Owens Glass Company, or the head of that company. And when he died, his widow sold it to us 22 years ago. Well, this is really, I suppose, a regular thing in most Hollywood homes, at least years ago. Projection room. Everybody had a projection room, 35 millimeters, and 2 of them, and a 16 millimeter projector. And every Hollywood home occupied by people in the movie business had these years ago. Now, I don't think they go in for it quite so much, although still a lot of people, executives certainly do, because they have to see so many films that they kill, as they put it, 6 or 8 films in a night. They just stay up all night and watch them all. You have to have a projectionist, of course, for that. When we first came here, there was a vault out there in the garden, and it was full of all Buster Keaton's old films. He must have just forgotten them, and that's how little it means once you've done the job, I guess. Well, this is the kind of floor that gives you the age and date of a Hollywood house, because the story goes, of course it doesn't, I don't go back that far, so I don't know, but the story goes that every house built around 50 years ago, in the great days of motion pictures, when Rudolph Valentino was the top star, they had to have a black and white marble dance floor, or Valentino wouldn't come to dinner because he was very hot with the tango, and he felt that it didn't look the way it should unless it was done on the proper floor. So every house you go into that has this floor on it dates itself. It means that at one time the people who owned it, who built it, were the kind of people that entertained Rudolph Valentino for dinner.
They began to attract the talent from New York, where art was, where serious theater was, where expression was. They brought him out here and promised him everything, whoever the star was. And they said to him, look, you've got an image that you have to live up to. They created the image, but the publicity department creates the image. You can't live like a schlepper. You can't stay inside some sort of cheap apartment with this furniture. You've got to live in a real house, a big house. You've got to have a pool. Your fans expect that of you. You're no longer yourself. You're not responsible to yourself anymore. You are now the big you. Your name is above the marquee. That's how big you are. If you're going to justify this kind of a salary and this kind of fame, lasting, enduring fame, you've got to have a house above Sunset. You've got to have a pool. So the fool goes out and he buys himself a house. Studio money. Studio lends him the money to get the house because he needs it, and the pool. Then he's got to fill that big house with furniture. So they lend him the money for that. He can't walk around in jeans and sweatshirts. You've got to have the clothing. It's got to be handmade. So he buys the clothing. He's extended now, years and years in advance of his career. Studio says, don't worry. You're making money. You got a 7-year contract. You got a 14-year contract. You got a 99-year contract. Stick around. So he starts to make these movies. Then they start to dry up at the box office. The public says, whoa, I don't want to see any more of these. Kent Taylor, William Garganfilms, whatever. The man is abandoned, tossed out. He loses the pool. They don't put new water in anymore. They turn off the electricity for the pump. The house starts to go. He moves down into a little apartment in Beverly Hills. No one wants to see his movies. It's a has-been, washed out. No more. But they had him. They had him the whole time. When he had that house, when he was in debt, up to here, to the studio, he had to do what they told him to do, or he would start to lose these things. When a person lives in a house for a while and thinks that his possessions are his own, he wants to hold on to what he has. He doesn't want to make a step down and go any farther away from that. He's achieved this. He begins to believe that he earned this. This is his. Now he must fight for this little patch of soil. And so he begins to take the kind of films the studios tell him to do. And obviously his career is going to go down the drain because he's repeating himself.
You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. How beautiful you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation. Your face would be adored. You ought to be in pictures. My star of stars.
There is this image of the Princess of the Pea where the star was so fragile. This created luminous beauty that existed in reality forever, and yet had to be treated as if it were some sort of fragile, delicate bloom. It always had to be ensconced in luxury, always had to be surrounded by the best that money could buy, and something that you couldn't touch, something that no human being could ever get near. Some kind of God-touched individual became movie star and lasted forever, or 2 or 3 years till they stopped making money at the box office. With hoopla and fanfare created, put before us as some sort of living entity, a symbol or a vision of what none of us could ever be in our own lives. We all have warts and acne and problems with body odor and whatever, but they didn't. They just were perfect and had droves of working type ants all over them, making sure that every hair was in place and the skin was without blemish and the eyes sparkled and the lips 20 feet across when they puckered up for a kiss, kissed everybody. And the millions, the unwashed millions from all the way across the country, Ohio, Massachusetts, Maine, Wisconsin, crowd in to see what these few, the star touched, the God touched, would do. And they were the ones who lived our dreams. We went there for a dream injection, worse than narcotics. The cinema is the opiate of the people, says me.
Sioux City, Iowa. I'm in Hollywood now, but that's where I'm from originally. Sioux City, Iowa is right in the middle of the United States. In Sioux City, there aren't any theaters. The only kind of theaters we have are moving picture shows and television. And so when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a moving picture actress. And I guess I'm still a little girl because I still want to be a moving picture actress or television, whatever it might be. I left Sioux City when I was 15 and a half, hitchhiked to New York. It wasn't quite fashionable then. Everybody's doing it now, and it's quite fashionable. You got to go to New York. You don't come to Hollywood. Hollywood, you don't come to, because Hollywood is, you've already done it by the time you get to Hollywood. And if you haven't, you're going to end up as a hooker or as a model, a nude model, or living with some older guy or being kept or something, which, you know, that's great too. It's better than being in Sioux City. But at the same time, if you want to be an actress, and if you want to be happy, and if you want to be successful, you go to New York, and you take acting lessons, and you study darn hard, and you learn how to dance, and you learn how to sing, you learn anything you can learn, and you get up every morning and make rounds. You don't stay in bed and wait for the phone to ring. You've got to do it. You've got to hustle. You can't come unprepared. And when the door of whatever it is knocks, or whenever that person knocks on your door and says, are you ready to do the film, you've got to be ready. You've got to be prepared. So every day, you got to think, today might be the day. Am I ready? Did I get enough sleep last night? Are my nails manicured? You've got to be ready all the time. You've got to just be waiting for that lucky break. And when it happens, you've got to be ready. And of course, you know, it's taken me 8 years. I played nuns, and I played roles where the girl was, she was a nymphomaniac on drugs, and I worked with really, really great people. And not only that, I got the reputation as being a good actress. And for a pretty girl, getting a reputation as a good actress in this town, it's pretty darn hard. You cannot be not talented. It's absolutely impossible. I guess the ones that make it who are, like, absolutely not talented are the gals who, I guess you can't even really say Raquel Welch is not talented. I mean, it takes talent to think up ways to, like, get in. I mean, at least she's clever. You can't knock her. And she's pretty to look at. I mean, at least she walks across the screen, and I mean, that's more fun to see than I think Mia Farrow's rear end or something. I don't know how many girls make it by going to bed. I don't think anybody does anymore because everything's too expensive. Everybody's got the producer's got the money people to say, well, why did you hire her? He can't say, 'cause, you know, she jacked me off. He's got to say, because she's very talented. I looked at film on her. She's the hottest thing going in town. There's got to be some reason to be hired these days. So nobody can, I mean, listen, if it were that easy to make it by going to bed, hell, I would have done that a long time ago. I mean, what's that? That's nothing. I think a worse thing is if you have a craft and you really do something well, and then somebody hires you and then they want you to do something else. That's prostitution, I think. I want everything. I want bathtubs full of milk to bathe in, and swimming pools, and I want a limousine, and I want everything. I want to be a famous movie star and a very talented actress, and I want Oscars and Emmys, and I just want everything. I don't think if I had to make a decision, I think I'd jump off a building or something. Do you know something? Before we were talking about, you know, girls having to go to bed and stuff, I think I know more actors that have been propositioned by producers and money people than I do any actresses. As a matter of fact, I know an actress who a producer said to her, listen, I'll go to bed. If you can get your boyfriend to go to bed with me, you'll get the part. You know, so what are you going to do? It's the game of the thing you have to enjoy, otherwise it'll kill you one way or the other. I mean, it shows up on your face, you start looking old. I know actresses who are like 25 and 26 and they look like 45-year-old women because they let it get to them. See, this town can eat you up and spit you out. It's really scary. So you have to somehow not get bitter. You can't get bitter. You've got to learn to enjoy the whole thing. You've got to learn, when somebody makes a pass at you, you got to figure it's a compliment. When somebody wants to photograph you in the nude, this jerk asked me, oh, I can't wait to get you in the flesh. Well, I could get really depressed about that and feel, oh, you know, that's all he wants me for or something. But I think, good, thank you. That's the best proposition I've had all day. And we joke and kid about it, and we become good friends. And here he is taking pictures of me that would cost me probably $150, but I've conned him into it. Right? Of course, he makes all kind of money, you know, selling them and everything, but that's okay. Everybody has to get something out of something. All I care about is what's up on that screen. That's all I care about, and I'll do anything to get it up there. You know, send people booze if it takes like a payoff. I'll flatter them. I'll tell them they dress groovy, or if I weren't married to such the neat polo player that the first one I'd jump on, I'll say anything. I don't care. All I care about is the fact that my craft gets up there on that screen, in that specific scene, and I'll do anything to get it up there. I really will. And I think that's part of my job. I have to do that. It's like nobody hires me. They hire me because they know I can do a certain thing. And if I don't do it, well, then it's my own problem. If I let, like, people, like hairdressers or anybody get in my way, it's my own problem. If I don't, usually if somebody fixes my hair, I say, oh, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. And then I go in and I just do it all over just the way I want to do it for the specific role. I mean, you know, some roles, your hair has to be messy. Some roles, you know, you got to have it all pulled back and look just right. So you just end up doing everything in the business. And you've got to be prepared to do everything, and you've got to think very fast. Or if not, you got to be able to cry on cue, you know. If you don't know what to say, you can always start to cry. Of course, that's bad, because then they think you're neurotic. You can't let them think you're neurotic. You always have to be in control. If you have to do any crying, it's best to do it in your dressing room. You know, smile and say fabulous, wonderful, and go in your dressing room and cry your heart out, and then come out and carry on. Because the worst thing in this town is to be known as a neurotic actress. I mean, you know, you don't take drugs, you don't take pills, you know, just cool it with everybody. You know, that's what you've got to do. You can't let anybody see that you're weak in any way. You have to just smile and grin and eat shit. And I'm sorry to say that. I don't even know whether you can say it on the air. How can I say it different? You have to eat, now how can you say it? Give me another word. You've got to eat. You know, it's like all your life you want to have a hot fudge sundae, and you're waiting for a hot fudge sundae. You finally get the hot fudge sundae, and there's shit on it. But you eat it until you're a star, and then maybe you can do a little bit of demanding. But you can't until you get there. So I'm happy doing that. I get a little ice cream anyway.
Central, no work. Central, no work. Central, no work. Central, no work. Central, no work.
Clark, have you worked for Director Douglas at Warner Brothers on a picture called The Skin Game with Jim Garner? 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, weather permitting, all weather conditions prevail at Warner Brothers for Director Douglas. You must be on time. They will take you on a local location to Disney Ranch by studio bus. Must report with a very short, neat haircut, short sideburns, no mustache. Costume furnished for a Callaway slave, $34.28 a day.
Who was here first? Okay.
I believe I would.
All right, fine. Would you fill this out for us so I need to speak with you? Thank you. And take this. And you ladies are here for modeling or acting?
It seems that the people that are getting cast and making it are only one shade. And we have to realize that blacks come in all shades. I'm really saying that because I'm not that dark. And I'm not paranoid, but I felt that a lot of parts were passed over because of the fact that I was not dark enough.
I sincerely feel that way myself. Either you're not fair enough or you're not black enough. If you demonstrate too much soul, they're afraid of you. You become something that's dangerous, you see. And so I feel like they need to revamp Hollywood and put in some, soulful people. What we need is a new oxygen of blood. We need something that will dig us as we are and fill what we have to give.
The young man with the celluloid hanging around his neck, who's out with that handheld camera, that seems to have taken over very substantially. Being young does not necessarily mean being good, but I mean the young people who've inundated under the pressures of the times, and because of the fact that, well, when I went to school, everybody wanted to write the great American novel. Today, everybody wants to make the great American film or great British film or whatever. And I think that that inundation on price quotients and that they have made possible under very reasonable budgets and shooting on the streets, as it were, films of independence and some of which are good, some of which are exciting.
Voice slate.
9BE, take one.
Camera.
Rolling.
Slate. Wait. Car out?
Yeah.
Action. Cut. Read. Voice play.
9BE, take one.
Camera.
Rolling.
Action.
You surely should sing like being in a way that is nonchalant. You've got more than Barrymore, and what more could a person want? You ought to dress like Powell and ride in sporty cars. You ought to be in pictures, my star of stars.
Motion picture is no different than any other enterprise or an army. You have to have a leader who knows what he wants and has the courage to insist in getting it. And that's exactly the same thing when you produce a picture. You have to know what you want, you have to know your business, and you have to insist that you have to have it done the way you see it in order to make it a success.
Those old fellows were gamblers. They were bandits, many of them, so that as bandits they gambled, and they would gamble on many things. What about some of the great films which were made under their aegis, But Hollywood, per se, that community composed of all those barons, of each with his own feudal castle, that's gone. I'm positive that's gone forever. And we miss some of the glamour of it and some of those gambles, but that's gone forever. But I remember Spencer Tracy very well, and Clark Gable very well, and I don't think inside a movie theater I shall ever be transported to the same degree. I may be more in admiration and more mature, more adult, but not transported into some sort of mysterious, wondrous place.
The American public is like the closest thing they can get to a spiritual experience is going out to the movies. The closest thing someone can get to a spiritual experience who makes movies is to make movies for those who go to see them. So therefore, you have, like, in a sense, the blind leading the blind.
Previews are one of the most exciting parts of picture making because you got to gauge the reaction of the audience. You got to look at the elements of the picture. You got to know what you want to change, what you want to work on. I would say if you have good judgment, you know, and some degree of a feeling about what the audiences want, and an awful lot of guts, I think. I think it's a tough job to be a producer.
It's neither luck nor instinct. If you are engaged in a business to fascinate the public and arouse their emotions, that is the subject that you want. We weren't always right, but we tried to be right as often as we could. But the public is more often right than the producers or the actors.
I don't know what in the Sam Hill it is the public does want. You know, they used to want to take polls in the old Hollywood days. What are you interested in, they would say to the audience. Do you like Westerns? Would you like a Western with John Wayne? It takes a year to make a film, and then the people, they wanted something else by the time you got around to making it, and they never did work. So that, I think you can't predict that. Isn't that good? Isn't that good that you make something, and who knows, it's up for grabs.
Majority of the time it's just fresh and sweet, but some sour milk gets in once in a while.
There's nothing dirty about these pictures. Now back to that creep LaRue. Let's go up to my office and check the files. Back in 47, I flew over to Paris to get a first-hand look at some of the highly touted French stuff. My contact was LaRue, a publisher of dirty books and part-time pimp.
Sequence concerns a would-be pornographer in a highly exaggerated sense. In the United States today, with the new screen permissiveness, we're able to show films that are far more frank, probably, than you can show in Great Britain. I'm trying to burlesque it in a kind of a Marx Brothers way.
Well, do you recall him saying anything about the author of the 7 Minutes, J.J. Jardner?
Yeah.
All the would-be censors and politicians that are trying to force censorship upon us had best just kind of relax, because rather than continue their efforts to stir up more interest, it would be best just to kind of cool it and let it take care of itself.
Greetings, everyone. Because we love Paramount Pictures, it's breaking our heart to see the adverse reaction to virtually all the casting they've done thus far on The Godfather. The whole country has been waiting a long time for the movie version of this controversial bestseller, and we'd hate to see our friends at Paramount muck it up or hurt themselves by making The Godfather under such unfavorable conditions. Diana Ross, happily, is indeed pregnant. Earlier, the slinky singer had vehemently denied the motherhood rumors, but it's getting tough to hide now. Diana to deliver sometime in August. MGM Studios declaring to the world they're really back in business and looking to make important deals with important filmmakers. And press agents may be saying Barbara Eden is ready to blow out the candles and happy birthday Wanda June. But the deal is final for British Oscar winner Susanna York to do the plum part in Columbia's pick of the smash Kurt Vonnegut Jr. play. As reported earlier, Rod Steiger to play the Great White Hunter, who comes home after 8 years to find his wife torn between two suitors. The husband was declared legally dead. And a happy birthday to you all, too. This is Rona Barrett in Hollywood.
Publicity is the very blood of the industry. Every star knows how important it is. Now, you see, Marshall, I think I'd like to run the 4 pages here of Sharon Farrell, and I particularly like this as the key shot because it has the breadth of the city. What do you think?
I don't know whether it's strong enough, Leo. Do you think she's big enough?
Well, she's starring in Love Machine, and as you know, it was a best-selling book. and I think because of that she's worth the pages. And I think if we run a good cover, you know, something like this old Faye Dunaway cover we ran, I think you have some on the light machine, don't you?
Yeah, I like the headshot here.
I'll go along with that.
Confidential magazine.
Everybody wants to know how the glamorous half lives, the other half. And it's been said about the Hollywood stars that because America has no real aristocracy, they kind of become the kings and queens and knights errant.
Even more important than the stories is the gossip, meaning rumor. And rumor is
inside
usually...
information.
It's usually the smoke that precedes the fire, if it's good gossip. But I think if a star has talent, they'll get where they want to go, but it may take longer. However, with publicity, it can happen overnight and has happened overnight.
And conversely, no matter how much publicity or coverage or excitement a person can generate through the print, if it's not up there on the screen, they're going to be dead.
In today's market, I guess what would be termed a modestly budgeted picture, we made it for under $1 million.
Hi, dear. Is Jack there? Hank Grant calling.
We've grossed about $1.5 million.
Hello.
$250,000 to $500,000 out of England alone.
Tell him it's very important, will you?
Worldwide television that goes against this. $3 million, or if you make a picture for 5 or 10, or as in recent cases, $22 million.
Hi, who have I got? Yeah, listen, I wanted to ask you, Diane Cannon, is that really on the up and up? She's going to see the Love Story premiere in Paris next Friday with Omar Sharif? Huh? Well, she worked pretty fast, doesn't she?
Hollywood, what is she today? A painted dowager in hot pants. Too much makeup, looking lascivious, lewd, trying to appear sexy, and really having no eggs whatsoever. There's no chance whatsoever. Not a fertile bitch at all. She wants to be something. She's trying to perpetuate her youth, and all she's doing is covering up her lines with more lines. And she's really just getting a lot older and looking it. Her age is showing. There's no question about it.
Hollywood's
Money.
kind of, yeah, besides money. Hollywood's
Been over all
it's
that.
kind of like a big old whale that's flopped up on the beach and doesn't know it's going to die. And out of nowhere, it just kind of gets surges of energy and flops and reflops and doesn't die.
But you have to be optimistic about the thing. You can't think like that. You have to think there's positive, that things are going to happen, that our generation's going to make it through it.
Oh.
Your gazelle light.
Pardon me, I just not know they're there, right? I'll just let it follow. Wait, tell him to go away. Don't let him do it. The director is one of his women.
I wish that were true.
I think it's a wonderful time in Hollywood. I think there's going to be all kinds of films that aren't going to thrill audiences, but we have to take chances right now, you know? I mean, everybody's floundering and the studios are crashing, but we have to get rid of a lot of the old thinking, you know, that you have to do things a certain way, need so many things and so much. We have to be more spontaneous.
Don't put lipstick on us, you're behind. You know what I'm doing, Bobby?
Remember, you guys.
I want the rocks up in the upper left-hand corner.
Filter on. Doris Day lens.
Yeah, Doris Day is in town.
Oh, you son. Here we go.
You too?
Dorothy.
1 second. 1 second, Bill. Girl, what's more important? I've got to get their attention on my head. My head,
Here
up
we
here.
go, sweetheart, right now. Close up, Dorothy. Okay, roll them, Bobby. All right, action, Sally.
It seems to me that it's getting so much more full of, and maybe it was like that back in Bogart's day, you know, the people who liked each other worked together. It's just been such family, such familiar and close, and a joy to work. Even the rough days have been a, you know, a togetherness, and I just love it.
All right, Sally, cut. Come back. Okay, Bobby. In the water butter with Sally. There you go, Sally. Sally, come on. Here we go, Sally. Here we go, Sally. Here we go. Here we go, Sally. Here we go, Sally. Everybody in the water.
Right. I think we should have Robert just at the edge of this shot.
That's crew first, right? Get in, you bloody coward. Get in and do it.
Oh!
Don't get her wet, Robert. Who wants the first whack? Come on. Come on, Bill. All the crew. All the crew. We're rolling.
Down, you get the blood going on.
Too bad for you. Robert.
Now go on into about a 75. I want a waist shot. And even, I'll go all the way into 250. I want a waist shot.
Now turn your back to us, Sally.
Oh, I caught it. Beautiful.
That's how we have to make pictures.
It's a good feeling to finish, and it's sort of sad because, you know, when you make a film, it's like a family working. You grow attached to each other, and you learn to love each other, and we learn to put up with each other's idiosyncrasies and the good and the bad points about everyone. You really get to love each other. It's sort of sad, I think.